Are you thinking about moving to Oahu in 2026? Let me give you the real numbers, not the tourist numbers, not the sugar-coated numbers, but the real monthly expenses of living right here. Because living here is absolutely incredible, but you need to be very realistic, specifically when it comes to your budget. So let's nail down on those numbers and let's get to it. So one of the things that people always talk about is groceries here. So it's a known fact, groceries here in Hawaii, on Oahu, is just more expensive. How I like to describe it to people who have never been here, it's kind of like if you live on the mainland, you live someplace else, it's like going to Whole Foods. So when you go to Whole Foods, everything is more expensive. Just imagine those prices being how everything else is here on Oahu. If you're trying to save money and you're more of a family, most people, they'll go shopping, they'll go to either Costco or they'll go to Sam's Club and they'll buy in bulk. But the problem is, so people like me, so I'm a single person. And so you'll find that when you're living here, your spaces are really small. So it's gonna be a lot smaller and tighter. So you can go shopping at Costco, you can go shopping at Sam's Club, but like if you're getting these huge things of toilet paper to save space or a huge thing of grapes, a lot of times you end up wasting it. You know, if you're a single person. For a family, those places are perfect. I have friends and I know clients, what they'll do is that they'll have a buddy and they'll say, hey, you know, I'm going to Costco, you want to come with me, and we'll split. And so we'll both buy grapes and then we'll split it. And that's also another way, being creative to save money. Again, I don't necessarily shop at Costco or Sam's Club very often, but again, that's because I'm a single person and because I don't have the space for it. I legitimately don't have the space. And if I'm getting these huge things of food, I'm gonna waste it. So a lot of my shopping that I do is actually at Whole Foods. Side note, that's kind of funny because you just said it was more expensive and most of my shopping is at Whole Foods. But I do most of my grocery shopping at Whole Foods. And the reason for it is that, I find that a lot of their, so I'll buy a lot of produce from there. I'll also go to farmers markets. That helps too a lot because I like a lot of fresh foods, so fresh natural foods. So that's particularly where I'll shop. But there's other people that they'll go to Foodland, they'll go to Safeway. I think Foodland is actually more expensive, to be honest. Like sometimes I'll go to Foodland and Safeway and I'm just like, you've got to be kidding. Like one of the craziest things I remember, I was shopping at, I think I was at Foodland and they had a box of cream of wheat. I was craving cream of wheat. It was like $8 and I was like, bruh, I do not need cream of wheat that bad. Like I don't want it. I don't need it. But then I went to, I forgot what store I went to, but I went to another store. It was like $3 or $4 and I'm just like, what the heck? So when you're grocery shopping, it's really important, like if you pre-plan, so go to several different places. Oh, Target and Walmart is going to be another great place that you can go shopping as well to go ahead and save money. And actually, when I'm thinking about that cream of wheat, it was actually at Target that I got, and that also helped me save money. Walmart is a little bit different here when you're purchasing groceries because like on the mainland, you're able to get like lots of meats and you can kind of go in and get like everything. I find that grocery shopping at Walmart is a little bit more limited here in Hawaii than it is on the mainland, but you can definitely go save some bucks, save some money by far. And that's going to be a good option if you're a single person in order to save money. So Target, Walmart, those are going to be good places. If you like more natural foods, that's going to be Whole Foods. If you're a vegetarian, so vegetarian, vegan, Down to Earth is going to be a really, really good option. I ain't gonna lie, Down to Earth is a little too rich for my blood, but but you can definitely go to Down to Earth and get tons of stuff. Like sometimes I just go on Down to Earth and I'm like, that's how much? Oh, okay. And like I'll go through Down to Earth. I'll go through like the lines and the aisles and stuff, and I'll specifically look for things on sale. So, because Down to Earth is so pricey. But when you're living here, you have to have that mentality of, where to spend your actual dollars, because if you don't, that's how things become overwhelming and that's how you end up going over budget. So utilities here on island are also more expensive. That's another thing that you are going to want to expect. So electricity, water, all those things are going to be more. But again, it's just about being able to budget correctly. So if you are the type of person that you have an AC and it's blasted and it's all day long, guess what? Your electricity bill is going to be through the roof. I've seen people's electric bill be like hundreds and goes into the thousands marks because they have mainland hobbies, or not hobbies, they have mainland habits. And so those mainland habits mean, hey, I'm gonna have my AC on all day because that's just what you do. You don't do that here. Most people don't. Most people, what they'll do is if they're home, they'll turn on the AC and then they'll cool down their house. Or to be honest with you, most homes here in Hawaii, they don't have AC. Lots of parts on the island, if you open up your windows, you have lots of trade winds that come in and it's really airy and breezy. And to be quite honest with you, it's not really into the really hot months like July or August where sometimes it's just like, oh my God, it's super hot. So as long as you are, I guess, being modest, it really isn't that bad. So me as a single person, my electric bill, I spend, to be honest, like less than $200 a month. Sometimes my bill is $80-something a month. Sometimes it's $100. But then again, you also have to realize that I'm a workaholic and I'm very adventurous and I'm always out. Like I'm always out. I'm always doing things. I'm out in the community. I'm on the beach. I'm with friends. So the time that I'm home, I'm not home very often because I'm always out doing things. And so those are going to be different costs that you have to realize maybe a bit different. But if you're the type of person who has a family and that you're always home and you work from home. So if you work from home, it's going to be more expensive. If you have an air conditioner or split AC, it's going to be more expensive. If you have the habit of you're only putting a couple items in the washer and dryer versus a full load, guess what? Your electric bill is going to be more expensive. Same thing with your dishwasher. It's some of these things that I'm mentioning seems like they may be common sense, but I think when you're in a routine and you don't think about it and you're just going through living life, you don't realize how these little habits end up adding up. So when you move here to the island, it's really important to be very conscientious of your lifestyle because those little habits that you may have does end up costing you a lot more here. So if you have bad habits, those are going to be things that you're going to want to reconsider when you're living here. So if you're on the leeward side of the island, so you're more Kapolei, Ewa Beach, that's also going to be times that you may use your AC a little bit more just because it's a little bit warmer. So where you are on island also may play a huge factor in that. So versus like if you're in town or if you're in Kailua, there's a lot of trade winds that are kind of going to come in. It's going to be able to cool your home down. So when you are picking locations on island, that's going to be something for you to go ahead and consider as well, because that does make a difference in your bill. Gas and transportation. So our gas here is more expensive than most places on the mainland, not California. California is just ridiculous, but it is more expensive. And registering your car, I'm telling you right now, if I didn't know somebody here who told me about the hassle that I had to go through when registering my car, I would have absolutely screamed. So registering your car here is an absolute nightmare. So first of all, if you're shipping your car here, so that's a cost within itself. So when I shipped my car here a few years ago, I think, and granted, this was a few years ago, I spent almost about $2,000. And so what they did is that they picked my car up, they moved it to California, it got on a boat, and then it took about a month for it to go ahead and get here and land on island. So when you get here, you're supposed to register your car, and I think about 30 days of you actually arriving. So 30 days you want to register your vehicle. And here you have to have car inspections done. So you have to take your car to get it inspected because it's not registered. You have to pay to get it registered, that's typically cheap, like maybe 10 to 30 bucks. The inspection is not expensive. So you pay for the inspection. Then they give you a form that states that you have failed the inspection because it's not registered. You have to take that form, go to the actual DMV for them to then tell you, okay, well, you have to now have your car weighed, or it'll be how much it weighs in the system, and then pay, whatever it costs to register. So I drive a Honda Accord. For my car, it was almost $400. But when I first came, I had a brand new car, so they didn't have how much my car weighed. So I had to then take my car to another facility to actually have my car weighed so that they would tell me how much I owed. So then I had to make another trip back to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, had the actual document of how much it weighed. Then I ended up paying the $400. Then I had to then go back to get my car inspected, and then I got my sticker. So I was pre-warned about that. If someone did not tell me about that, I would have called friends, and I would have been in tears because I would have been so fed up, because I'm like, this is the most stupidest, most backwards things I've ever experienced in my entire life. So be prepared for that. So car registration, it is a hassle, but if you know what to expect, it is bad, but you know what to expect. In terms of your commute, so your commute here can be pretty brutal, and that also adds to the cost of things as well, because here was very different. So when I lived on the mainland, I was totally fine with like driving 40 minutes, 45 minutes. It's not a big deal. You're going from one place or one side of town to another. It's not a big deal. I think what makes it so difficult here, the commute so difficult, is because you're in traffic. So, on the mainland, you're kind of driving, for 40 minutes, and you're listening to whatever you like, and you're just cruising. And then if you have traffic here and there, it's fine. But here, it's back-to-back rush hour. It's people who drive very slow here. It's, people culturally don't really blow their horns. It's actually, they don't blow their horns. If you blow your horn at somebody's going to get out their car. So don't blow your horn at people here. So not a good thing. But and people drive here with aloha. So that's something else too, where they'll let you go in front, and everyone's really nice. It's really nice, but the traffic here is awful. But when you're going from the west side, so the west side of the island, so we're talking more like Kapolei, we're talking Ewa Beach, west side, where if you go further out to like Waianae, Makaha area, to get to town, if you're from Ewa or Kapolei, you're looking maybe about a 45-minute drive, sometimes a little bit more depending on traffic or if there's construction. Waianae, sometimes you can be up to an hour plus. Let's talk about housing and your commute. So one of the things that people will do is that they'll purchase a home over on the west side because it's far cheaper. So we're talking Ewa Beach, we're talking Kapolei, we're talking Waianae, we're talking Makaha, we're, the west side of the island. The issue with that is that, yes, while homes are cheaper and that makes it more attractive, the issue is going to be your actual commute into town, specifically if you work in town, if you have friends in town, if you want to do something in town, whatever the case may be. If you're at Ewa Beach or Kapolei, you're thinking, well, it's a 45 minutes to an hour drive every time you come in town and every time you're coming back. When you're in Waianae, Makaha, you're looking easily at an hour, sometimes even 2 hours, depending on where traffic is. So if you're talking about driving to town, that's an hour. Then driving back, that's 2 hours. If there's construction, if there's an accident, that's horrible too. So let me also explain the roads here, because that's important. So on the mainland, I'm used to, you have, the slow lane, you have the middle lane, and then you have the fast lane where people like me, we drive. So, and then you also have emergency lanes, right? So if something happens, you get a flat tire, your car is kind of going a little shaky, or you have an accident, you can go ahead and move over to the emergency lane. A lot of the parts on the highway here doesn't have that emergency lane. So guess what? So if you get an accident or you get in a flat tire on the freeway, you are stuck. That means that whole lane is now shut down until that accident is cleared up, until a tow truck comes in and takes, your car, they move your car off the freeway. That adds a dramatic time to the actual overall commute, and it's crazy. So when you're thinking about the overall cost of living, and you're thinking about maybe purchasing a house in those far out areas, you need to think about the commute and make sure that that one is something that you're going to be comfortable with, that is going to be realistic for you, for your lifestyle. Like if you're the type of person, and there's, and the West Side is a beautiful part of the island. Don't get me wrong. Like I love the West Side. I mean, you have the mall that's there. There's lots of shopping. There's lots of restaurants. There's beautiful beaches, beautiful snorkeling spots. Like there's lots of things to go ahead and do on that side of the island. But if you are having to commute to town for any reason, it is a hassle. So, or if you're military and you're coming into one of the bases, it is a hassle. So you just need to 120 million% comfortable with the idea and the notion that if you are living on that side of town to save money. So, and it doesn't matter if you're even buying a house or renting a house, it's cheaper by far on that side. But you have to be okay with being able to travel into town and the actual commute that brings. Let's talk about HOA fees. So I've had lots of relocation clients from other places like, Texas, Florida, Oklahoma, it doesn't matter. And the first thing that people always complain to me about is HOA fees. Oh my God, T. HOA fees are how much? It's $700. Oh my gosh, T. It's $1,000. Oh, I could pay. My HOA fee is $100. My HOA fee is $50. My HOA fee is $200. You're telling me I have to pay $700? And then I'll get those phone calls and they'll say, oh, is that a quarter or is that semi-annually? And I'm like, no, that's a month. And they're like, oh, you're joking. Like, where does the money go? What are they doing? So when you are buying a condo, you absolutely 100% are going to have to be comfortable with the idea and understand that you are going to pay an HOA fee. So the HOA fee, what that does cover is the overall maintenance of the actual building itself, not in your personal unit, your personal home, but the building. So like if you're in a building and the elevator goes down, or it pays for the amenities if you have a pool or fitness facility, just anything that it takes to make the building a livable space. So the landscaping it covers, the roofing it covers, the cleaning of the building it covers, and the HOA fee. So what the HOA is it's a pot. So every person that lives in the actual building pays into this pot, and that pot, what they do with that money is divvy it up depending on what their budget is to go ahead and to make sure that the building is running accordingly, so that it's a nice livable space. And it's really funny too, because I get people who complain about HOA fees all the time, but you can tell when you're looking at buildings, what buildings are maintained with a good HOA and then what buildings are not maintained. And when you're a buyer that's coming in, for most people, having a building or living in a building that has been being maintained is probably going to be really important for you. And the reason why it's going to be important for you is because it affects your resale value. Because let's say that you buy a place and your place is absolutely gorgeous. You've done the whole renovations, the backsplash and the kitchen's nice, it's great painted with, it's painted, and you have the nice granite countertops, the stainless steel appliances, you have the absolute works. But if the overall building looks like junk, that's going to bring your value down no matter how much you put into it, because it's like a neighborhood, right? We always say in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. So if you think about it, why wouldn't it be the exact same thing when it comes to your actual building and then your HOA? So understand that the average cost of an HOA here on island is about $720. And I've seen them go as high as $3,500 a month. And I've seen it go as low as a couple $100 a month. And that's going to be something for like the average consumer. Now, if you're getting to something a little bit more luxurious, and we're talking about some of these multi-million-dollar properties that are $5 million or more, your HOA fees could be $10,000 a month plus. So again, it just depends on you. It depends on your budget. It depends on what you're looking for. But again, when you're actually speaking with me, we're talking, we're having a consultation, I will help you figure out an individualized, personalized plan so that whatever that you choose, it will fit within your budget comfortably. So also too, when you're looking at your HOA, budget, that's going to be added within your mortgage cost. So you want to make sure that whenever we're looking at someplace that we are going to factor that in. And again, when you're talking with a professional that understands specifically when you are relocating here to the island, I will be able to connect you with a lender and we'll go over all those things. We'll go over everything line by line so you'll know exactly what that is and make sure that whatever HOA is there, that we're aligning it correctly with your budget and your mortgage. One of the questions that I get all the time is that if you should rent versus buy. And honestly, it really depends on you and your situation. From an investment standpoint, it is always 100% going to be better to buy, but that's if you're in a position to do it. I never, ever want to see any of my clients house poor, period. So if buying a house means that you're in a position where A, you can't afford your mortgage payment, or B, it's going to set you so far back that you're not going to be able to get groceries or do your daily activities, or you have like an emergency fund of just in case something happens, then you shouldn't buy, period. Then, you need to put it off. You need to make a plan. And actually, I can help you with that. You could just call me and say, hey, T, I'm not quite ready right now to buy a house. What can I do? What steps can I make? Because it's all about knowledge, right? It's all about knowledge and making a plan and knowing what your goal is and how to do it. Because to be quite honest with you, if you're just saying, hey, I want to buy a house, but I don't necessarily have a plan to do it, you're just shooting darts at the wind. Nothing's going to ever stick. Next year is going to come around and it's going to be the same thing. I'm thinking about buying a house. The following year is going to come around. I'm thinking about buying a house, but it's not going to ever happen unless you make a plan. Renting is going to be really attractive to people because, you have a set amount that you're going to pay every month. You're not having to put in, a down payment to something, right? You're not going to have to worry about the maintenance of a house, right? You're not going to have these additional expenses. And sometimes buying a house can be scary. But where people go the wrong direction is that, again, understanding that regardless if you rent or you buy, you're paying a mortgage. So what you need to decide is that if you're going to pay your mortgage or if you're going to pay somebody else's mortgage, because that place that you're renting is somebody else's mortgage payment that you are renting from them and you're helping their equity. So meaning you're paying their mortgage, meaning that over time, their place is going up in value because that's historically what the real estate market here does here in Hawaii. So historically, the value of homes increase about 6% every year. So when you are when you're renting, you're just paying that person's equity. You're paying into that person's equity, right? Versus if you decide to go ahead and buy, then you're paying yourself. You're creating wealth for yourself. You're helping build a legacy for yourself and your family. And the crazy thing about it is that a lot of times buying a house is so much more affordable than people think. They hear about how expensive it is here in Hawaii, and then they get scared because they're like, oh my gosh, this is a $500,000 house or a $500,000 condo. And, I'm only getting 1 or 2 bedrooms and, I can't believe this, right? But if it's increasing, on average 6% every year and you're holding on to this, guess what? After a few years, this is going to be worth so much more money. Do you know how much money that you're going to walk away with by selling it? That's the type of thought process that you have to be able to change to go in when you're purchasing a home. Because, again, where I'm from, I'm going to compare it to, my Midwestern town here in Ohio. I own a house there. The equity in my house would not increase nearly as much as it does here. So those are different things that you need to think about. The other thing is that there's things that we can do to make it cheaper. Like, for example, I had a VA client that I just closed on recently. They bought a $500,000 house, so a $500,000 house, and they brought less than $5,000 to the table. Like we negotiated their closing costs. We negotiated, having seller's concessions. They were able to buy down their rate, which means that they're able to temporarily make their mortgage payment cheaper. There's so many options that are out there for people, but if you don't pick up the phone, if you don't call somebody, if you don't inquire, then guess what? Again, you're shooting darts here in the dark and you don't know what your options are. Your options are free to know. That's what knowledge is. You find out the actual information, and then you create a plan to figure out what's best for you, because what's best for this person is very different from this person. So that's why you are linked with somebody who is knowledgeable, that is willing to create those personal plans for you. So then you have the information that you individually need, so that when you're deciding that you want to relocate here, you have everything that you need to make an educated decision so that you're good to go. The cost of living here in Hawaii very much depends on what part of the island that you live. If you're in some place like Kailua, it is going to be very much more expensive than if you live in Waianae. If you live in Hawaii Kai, that's going to be a different living expense than if you lived in Mililani. If you live in Ewa Beach, that's a different expense than if you live in town. So understanding what parts of town that you want to be in makes a huge difference of your overall costs of living here. So, you know, when you're coming here on island, or when you're thinking about relocating, so again, we always say in real estate, it's location, location, location. That's the biggest thing. You know, figuring out what are the things that are going to be most important to you. So is it most important to you to live next to the beach? You know, I have clients all the time. Oh, T, I want to live next to the beach. I want to live next to the beach. Okay, that's great. We live on an island. If you drive 20 minutes, you'll be next to a beach. You know, so is that 20-minute drive okay? Or do you actually want to live next to the beach and pay over $1 million? That's a decision that you'll have to make. You know, is it important for you to save more money? Like, hey, T, I want to get the most bang for my buck. I want to live in a neighborhood that I'm getting the most bang for my buck. Okay, those neighborhoods are going to be Mililani, Kapolei, Ewa Beach, Waianae. Those are going to be some of the main areas that I say that you get the most bang for your buck. Now, the caveat with that is, now that you have a longer commute, are you okay with that? Are you okay with saving a couple $100,000 and then now you have a 2-hour commute? Or you have an hour commute, or you have a 45-minute commute. Are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, then that's going to be the best decision. Some people are just like, oh, heck no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I want a 15, 20-minute drive back to work every day. I want to be close to my family and friends, or I want to be close to, you know, whatever place it is that they want to go to every day. So if they have a favorite bar, or they want to be next to the grocery store and walk around, that's fine. But, you know, you may pay a premium for it. So really understanding the different neighborhoods where they're located on island, and not only that, but understanding the premium that's going to be associated with that is going to be important. So some of the more expensive places, so anything in town is going to be more expensive. So Honolulu, it's going to be more expensive. Kailua is going to be more expensive. Hawaii Kai is more expensive. Kahala is going to be more expensive. The only place that's a little different, that's kind of further out, that's more expensive, is going to be North Shore. North Shore is expensive as well. Waikiki, you're going to typically see more of an increase. So the general rule is, and again, there are some exceptions with some communities, is that the more centered you are for Honolulu, the more expensive it's going to be. The further out that you go on the island, the cheaper that is going to be, with the exception of like Kailua and North Shore. Here's the thing that most people don't expect when they live here. Everything that seemed to be really important to you before you moved here, and that was super expensive, becomes less important to you the longer that you live here, because the lifestyle here is free, and the things that you enjoy end up being free. The beaches, the mountains, the lifestyles, being active in the community, all those things don't cost anything, and that is what makes you truly appreciate living here in Hawaii. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you on our next adventure.